Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Birds on the Blue Note. Want to thank my fellow captain RJ for joining me again today as we discuss the recap of the White Sox series real quickly before we get into a lot of issues that this team is dealing with. We have a lot of tweets from insiders and experts that we want to cover, so don't want to spend too much on a recap that pretty much provides nothing outside of a great outing from Sonny, who continues to be ace material with a sub one ERA in his starts. Um, Nato had a few good at-bats. Wilson had a couple good at-bats, but outside of that, offense was completely non-existent, really, for the series, and nothing seems to be getting done other than phantom moves getting Gio to the DL, IL,
Kyle, yep.
whatever they call
Chris
it these days.
Roycroft, right? That's the guy. He's gonna save our season.
Yeah.
We're not gonna
I
we're
mean,
not
now
gonna
don't get me
change
wrong.
anything.
He's a very impressive, daunting guy at over 6+ feet and whatnot, but no, he is not. Again, pitching is not the issue right now outside of Geo. I mean, really, most of the pitchers have been doing really solid. I'll kick it out to you. You are our data analyst here, RJ. So we'll hit up the topics you want to highlight and, you know, go from there.
Well, yeah, as you mentioned before, you're talking about the offense. The offense is definitely an issue. Hitters not named Contreras or Arenado are pretty much worthless this entire series. I mean, they could have sent me and you up to the box and we would have been just as productive. Uh, 6 for 77, 19 Ks, 4 walks, one extra base hit in 3 games. Um, you can't win games with only two guys hitting. I mean,
No.
I,
Yeah.
it, what I mean, Paul Goldschmidt is still hit list for month of May. I mean, we talked about that a little bit before this started. Paul Goldschmidt has taken like a dramatic fall from grace the past year or so from his former MVP self. Any hope he could still turn it around, but like we're 25% through the season now, 30% through the season, like time's running out. And it just, yeah. Are we just gonna rant about the team? Because like I can keep going. You want to start a timer? Like,
I
I don't
mean,
need to talk about the games. I can just talk about the state of the team right now. It's not good, like
there isn't anything to really take from the games other than the state of the team, is there? Am I missing
yeah,
something
we won
here?
game one,
Like
3-0.
the
Two
book,
Arnett doubles drove in all 3 runs, and that was it. I mean, like Sonny Gray shoved, and we got nothing from the offense outside Arenado that series. Kind of like we got nothing outside of the offense in game three. Wilson Contreras had a solo shot. We lost 5-1. I think we took one at bat with runners in scoring position, and it was like the ninth inning at the very end. The whole game,
four
like
hits total in game three in a rubber
this
match.
is this is a historic like a historically bad White Sox team. This isn't like a team
No.
that was just like having a down year, hitting some bad luck. No, this is a historically bad team with a historically bad pitching staff, and we made them look like Cy Young winners. And I get like something needs to change. You cannot lose a series to a team that's historically bad, that's on pace to set a record for losses, and then nothing change. I
Yeah.
mean, like I was talking about like and maybe it's a coaching thing, maybe it's a player thing, but I mean, here's a
It's
tweet
it's
I was
it's
looking at.
both. It's both. It is both at the end of the day. Like nobody should be, other than a few players, like Willie has been, doing everything. He can only do so much. This is a team sport, but
Yeah, and Arenado's been hitting better lately. And like, it's funny how we keep going back and forth. Last time we talked about Arenado and Goldschmidt, I was like, yeah, I feel better about Goldschmidt and bad about Arenado. Yeah, now I feel good about Arenado and bad about Goldschmidt again. It's just
but I
back and
I
forth. I'm
trust
never.
those two to work their own things out. If there are issues with the coaching staff, with the culture, with leadership, with the front office. Like, it doesn't matter how good those three guys do between Willie, Goldie, and Nada. They could all be all-stars. And if the rest of the team isn't putting together shit, we're not gonna win games if we're not putting up more than 2 runs
Yeah, we got two of them
consistently.
hitting right now. What's one more guy hitting? We need the team. The team as a whole is in a funk. And like, here's the one I was wanted to bring up. Cardinals have pulled just 29.4% of their barreled balls this season. That's the worst for an individual team in StatCast history. You're wondering why we have no power and we can't hit it over the wall. No one's pulling the ball. Nobody on the team. We have Gorman as a pull hitter. Goldie's a pull hitter when he's hitting for power. Arnott is obviously a pull hitter and he has been his entire career. Um, what are we doing? What's the approach here? We fastballs. We're the worst fastball hitting team in baseball. We watch them go by the middle of the zone and then we swing at garbage. I don't.
So
It's driving me nuts because like I watch all these games and I watch like almost every inning of the season and these guys go to the plate and they look like they don't have a plan. They'll just take like strike one, strike two down the middle and then they'll wave at a slider in the dirt or a curveball in the dirt. And I just
the approach is really baffling. And like, as somebody that loves strategy himself, like, I keep watching to try to figure out what sort of strategy they're going with. And it seems to change some days. Some days they're trying to hop on the first pitch. Other days they're not swinging at the first pitch, regardless of what it is. And it seems like some of them have been good game plans, and just others they have not adjusted at all. And it doesn't matter how good of a hitting coach Turner Ward may be, because Goldie obviously swears by him, but if he can't make the adjustments mid-game, if their strategy forward approach isn't working, like, that is a huge part of being a major league hitting coach, is making the adjustments if the pitcher is on that day and figuring out, hey, what can we do to get to them? Maybe they are throwing their curveball in the dirt every time and we're chasing. So, hey, if we see it's a curveball, you know, take it. Something has to change, and the pull numbers tell me that we're late. We are
yep,
consistently late across the board. So is everybody looking for off speed?
that's a bad approach.
And
And
exactly,
that's
you
what it
should be
looks like
looking for
too. When you watch
fastball.
them, they take the fastballs down the middle all the time. And like, I don't have a problem if you get yourself out on the first pitch if you're swinging at a good pitch. It it
There,
happens. It's baseball.
and there's something to be said to trying to up a pitcher's pitch count and not jumping on the first pitch every time, where the guy is able to get out of the first inning in 3 pitches.
But
You know,
sometimes that's the best pitch you'll see in the at bat. If it's just a get me over fastball, that's something like Goldie Arnado used to crush. And now they're like sitting on it and they're like watching it go by. And now
sometimes
they're
it is, but
behind
it
in the
should
count.
be a team approach. If the first guy goes up there and he's swinging first pitch and he gets out, we should be adjusting our approach for the second guy. Hey, let's make this guy throw another strike and then attack. Like, if you're sticking to one approach, and what's disturbing is when Ollie is saying things like, we're doing all the right things, but it's not translating to games. That is very, I expect that at T-ball level, at pony league level, heck, even at high school and college level. But the second
Yeah.
you're getting into the minors, let alone majors, that is unacceptable. Guys get released for much less than that in the minors for
Well,
not
no, it's
implementing
like
the
last week when
feedback.
he said Matt's had some of his best stuff and he got lit up. And you're like, are we watching the same game here, buddy? Like, I don't know what's happening. You can't, this isn't like all sunshine, rainbows, and lollipops here. You got to hold people. And this is what's
I,
driving
I
me
don't
nuts
care if
right
you're hitting
now.
your spots if your spots are getting blown up. Like,
Yeah, like
this is
we're
battleship.
bored
If
right
if
now.
they're calling out all the right calls, you're doing something wrong on your strategy and on your selection. Something is wrong. Like, yeah, so I mean, going back to the point though that you were making as far as like the poll numbers, that really does speak to us being consistently late across the board with our approach, and that should be a simple fix. Get these guys inside the cage, throwing them 100, get them all caught up. This is what baseball is, one of those funny games where if you start seeing 100 a few times, you can catch up to it, especially if you've seen it before and have hit it before. It's muscle memory. You just have to get that timing back and
Yeah, it's all
everything with your
time. And
swing.
it's mental too. Like you have to like as some okay, I didn't play at a high level. I played high school, but like if you're a batter and you're sitting in the box and you're sitting on breaking ball and a fastball comes by, you're already too late because you're
Yeah.
you're sitting on breaking ball, and that's what it looks like every hitter is doing, especially Goldie, who seems to be late on like 92 consistently. It's I, I don't know what else to say about it. Like, how does that happen as a major leaguer, as a former MVP? He's not that far off from. It's not like he's 40, like Albert in his last couple seasons. But how can he be late on like low 90s fastballs? It has to be an approach thing. Either that or his swing is slowed down dramatically, which would be even more concerning.
But it's happening across the lineup, so it
Yeah,
has to be
no,
an
with
approach
everyone
thing.
too. I just single out Goldie because like for this team to get going, we need Goldie and Arenado both going at the same time, and that's hasn't seemed to happen yet.
No, yeah. I mean, and we can only hope that it changes because again, these are statistical anomalies. These are like the worst Cardinals offense that we've seen, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I haven't been along for, most of this franchise, but in the quarter of the franchise I have been alive for, uh, we've had some bad rosters. If you look back at like the 90s and everything when we were growing up and that, there were some not great rosters. And like the fact that this team is doing worse in statistical categories than
This is
those
the
teams.
second worst offense we've had in the last 100 years.
Yeah.
Could like across the board. It's the second worst ever that we've had. You wouldn't think that with the players that we have on the team. If you said, hey, like if you were to go back last season and say we're going to roll out a lineup that has Lars Nootbaar, Wilson Contreras, Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Gorman, and you're going to have the second worst offense in almost the history of the team, you'd be like, what's going on? Like,
Well, and think about it too. The team hasn't changed much between, 20, 22 and even 23. If anything, we added more offense with Contreras than anything. There's no reason for such a regression outside of it being strategical and coaching, which again, also again the players too. They're the ones that are in there, You should know better when that ball's coming down the plate to swing at it. And
especially if it's like from a historically bad White Sox pitching staff, like with one or two good pitchers in the entire team. I don't understand how it's just it's like you're unprepared, you're unmotivated, you don't care. I don't know what it is. And like this is the thing that drives me nuts is like I have a tweet from years ago, Bill DeWitt actually, after firing Matheny before 2018 All-Star break. Quote, in some places, a winning record or even 500 is even acceptable. Not with this city, not with this franchise, not with its history, and not with the fans.
yeah.
2018. So in 2018, DeWitt got it. But here we are in 2024, enduring some of the worst baseball we've ever seen from this team, and nothing's happening. Like we talked about at the beginning, Gio's got a shoulder injury, and we called up Chris Roycroft, and that's it. I'm not one for firing people and like them losing their livelihoods, but there has to be like some accountability here. You have to show the fans that the way that we have played this season is unacceptable, and we get it, and we want better, and we want to change. But they're not showing that. Like I, the, we're Monday, like about 30 minutes from game time, and nothing significant has changed. Like they care, right? Like they haven't made a statement, they haven't had a press conference, they haven't fired anyone, they haven't made any significant moves whatsoever. I think that's frustrating for a lot of fans as well. Like I said, I don't want people fired, but there has to be some accountability for this. The White Sox had won one road game the entire season before coming to Bush and taking two from us, two in a row. 7 wins on the season.
That was a 6-win team coming into the series.
Ah,
6 wins, pacing for under 60 on the
and we
season.
want to talk about
Actually,
how bad the
they
offense is.
they were they were actually at the time pacing for more around 40, 50 wins. when they
He
came
just
into play us.
drastically
And
improved their
we
record.
just shot up their projections on the year for where they're going to finish.
But
God damn it,
to
man.
pile onto the
Like,
offense, again, I'm sorry, real quick, but to pile onto the offense, like 5-1 loss in the series finale, when you know like you cannot lose this team and you cannot lose to this team, and we had 4 hits. Paul DeYoung right now has a higher OPS than Goldschmidt, Nootbaar, Donovan, Gorman, Win Herrera. If he was still on the Cardinals, he'd be like our fourth best hitter. Paul DeYoung. Oh, I just don't know what to say right now. It's baffling. I don't. I know you guys probably don't want to sit here and listen to me cry about the Cardinals for 20 minutes, but this is just the state. This is the state of the team right now. This is where we're at. And like I said, changes need to happen. Like they need to show that they care. And they haven't showed that yet. They haven't done anything to significantly change like the outcome of the season. They've done nothing. They're like, oh well, Gio is a bad reliever, so let's just switch him up for another reliever from the minors, and maybe Roy Croft is fantastic, but our bullpen wasn't the problem. Like,
yeah,
get it?
I don't, I don't get it either. It's perplexing to say the least.
Yeah, I wanted to read a couple tweets from Bernie Miklasz,
Yeah, go ahead.
who I've lobbied in his inbox to join the show. Reply back, Bernie, if you ever see this. That'd be cool.
One day, man, one day we can dream.
Yeah, right.
Where's our little Angels guy? It could happen.
All right, let's see, I got three from them I wanted to read. So one of them was we talked about already. Through Friday, the White Sox were 1-14 on the road and lost 9 straight away from home. Before leaving town, which we talked about, White Sox won 2 games in a row, won their first road series of 24, and left a carcass of a team behind in St. Louis. That's fun. Carcass. Don't see that word very often.
I like carcasses.
Um, yeah, I like carcass. The Cardinals franchise was in a bad spot when DeWitt bought it. He did a great job of putting together a successful operation for one of the greatest eras of Cardinals baseball. True, but franchise leadership let the system project go stale and now it's rotting. Sad. I mean, you cannot lose to a historically bad team. You cannot lose to maybe one of the worst teams in Major League history in a series and just no repercussions. Uh, Marketing, branding, all about former legends still milking the past. The feel good pill isn't working anymore.
No,
That's true. And I think a lot of fans see right through that.
as they
Some,
should. I mean,
Something needs to change, man. Winning should be first and foremost. And that doesn't seem to be what's going on right now. Like I mentioned earlier, DeWitt said it in 2018, 500 winning isn't good enough. We need to be competing. Like when was the last time we built a roster where we felt like, yeah, we're serious World Series contenders?
I
What
mean, it's been a while, but to be
it's been
honest,
a while.
neither of our last World Series teams had done
No, and
that.
that's fair, but like during that era, year in, year out, we felt like the roster going into the season were contenders, right? Like '06 won it on a bad year, but the bad year happened because Edmonds was injured and Roland was injured and the pitching staff was injured. '05 we won 100 games. '04 we won 105 games. I mean, you look at 2011, 2012, made it back to the NLCS, 2013 back in the World, 2015 at 100 felt like legitimate contenders for the World Series, which is different. And even though we won it and the fluky years, the way the roster was built and the way we constructed those teams, you felt really good about it going into the season. And I feel like that hasn't been the case for almost 10 years now. And we've always been like, yeah, this is a great move, but we need one more. And then they kind of stopped short right there.
Yeah, like
So
we needed well, but to be honest, we thought we needed a number two this year, and the problem has been
the hitting. And yeah,
the
that's
hitting.
fair.
In fact, I was arguing that we needed to trade from some of our hitting to get an upgraded pitcher, and that would have just left us with even fucking less options right now. But
Yeah,
I did not see a need to sign a big bat, maybe more complementary bats, but I didn't see a need for a big bat. We already had that with Nato, Goldie, and
Contreras.
Contreras. And
Yeah.
then we were hoping that Walker would continue to do well. and that
Newbar would
Gorman
take the
would,
next step, and
even with
Donovan.
some
Yeah,
regression, that Gorman would continue to do decently well. I mean, even if he's hitting 250 with 30 home runs, that's a good solid second baseman,
I mean, he
if you
paced to
ask
hit
me.
35 home runs last year if he had a full season. So like,
We were hoping Win would be good,
yeah,
and he's been pretty decent, but we've had so much regression across the board that it's just like it's all happening at the same time, and that's just devastating to us. You can't really survive
no,
with
yeah,
this,
I
and
mean,
pitching can only do so much to counter it and whatnot.
and not only that, like you can't count on the pitching to be lights out all season. Even if the pitching is lights out all season, we're still losing games like 3-2 or 3-0 or 2-1. I mean, the offense has been so bad across the board that even when we have great pitching, we still lose. So
Yeah,
it's this cannot losing to the White Sox, and like I keep beating the same dead horse. This should not go without repercussions. This something needs to change. Um, show the fans that you care, that you're paying attention, because fans are pissed and rightfully so. I mean, you look at
yeah.
the stadium and they were booing. How often do we boo our own players? I can't remember the last time we booed our own players. It's baffling. Like DeWitt, like do something. Come out, make a statement. Something.
I Yeah, the silence is, I think, one of the more aggravating parts of the whole thing, too, because, like you said, I mean, that shouldn't be the case at all. This should be something that they have down pat, or at least have fixed by now. But again, the only thing that we're getting is, oh, we're working on all the right things behind the scenes. You're just not seeing it in the game.
Yeah, Turner Ward's a
That's
great
a
guy.
really unacceptable answer for me as somebody that's played, having coached, and even been on like the back end. Like I'd rather you be silent than fucking say that. Like,
Yeah, I mean, not only that, the fans are
yeah,
emotionally and financially invested into this team. Like you keep like putting out tweets about we have cheap tickets. Who cares if you were watching a shitty product? Like it's one thing to be bad. It's another thing to be bad and boring. When your team across the board doesn't hit, that's just not exciting baseball. I'd rather we lose 10-9 with shitty pitching because then at least it's exciting. But if no one hits and no one gets on base, it's
yeah,
boring. It's not fun to watch. Like why would I spend my money to go to the stadium? And I'm not going to bring my kid and buy cheap beers and hot dogs, even if they are cheap, to watch the Cardinals get shut out. It's not fun.
no, not at all. And I mean, the fans have every right to be pissed about that. And you just wonder how long it's going to take for something to happen, if something's going to happen. Um, Again, I've been saying if you're serious about this season, we are over 20% of the way through the season. Now, they're fortunate that we're still close enough in this race, but you know, that's only due to our pitching. If our pitching regresses in even the slightest bit now,
It's over. Yeah.
we can drop to 10 games back within the next week and a half very quickly and everything.
So I did want to read one more tweet while we have only a few minutes left to kind of get your thoughts on it, because this is a good question. Because I'm not one that would always put it just solely on the coaching staff, but on the players too. But this is an interesting topic. Um, so the question is, if you traded all 9 starters to the Dodgers org after last season, would they all still be struggling like this? Or is something off in the clubhouse culture of this team? Your thoughts?
I mean, there's still plenty of guys that we've traded that aren't doing well in other
I
organizations.
understand. I
So,
understand that, but like
do I believe if all nine were in a different area? Yes, because
all together
I
at the same
believe in
time.
statistical anomalies, and I believe that even the best, person can, have bad games in this, and this could just be a terrible stretch. But No, this isn't something that I would ever bet to happen anywhere. But we can't see behind the scenes. What I'm led to believe is this is a, managerial coaching issue. Again, the players are not, you know, off the hook because they are still the ones that are on the field. Nobody's making them swing at, you know, what should be ball three all the way outside in the dirt. That's you deciding to jump the gun. You should have good enough pitch selection. You've seen enough 93-mile-an-hour breaking balls. You know when that ball's coming out of the hand pretty quickly if it's a fastball or not, based on the rotation, all that sort of stuff. You can get a pretty good feel. Now, some have better movement than others, so it pulls a little further and whatnot. But again, like some of these pitches are just blatantly in the dirt, and you can tell that they were guessing from the get-go. So they were swinging
So
no
that's an
matter what
approach
that
thing.
is, and they
Yeah.
they weren't holding back. And that again, not great approach. So yeah, I really think it comes down to this coaching staff. I've made it well known multiple times that I'm not a fan of Ollie Ward or multiple things here, but I do again believe that a lot of this is on the players too. I'm not seeing guys, choke up on the bats with two strikes. I'm not seeing many guys try to foul off pitches with two strikes. They're still going for all or nothing, and they're ending up with
Yes.
nothing.
Waving at ugly pitches.
We're ending up with nothing a lot of
Yeah.
the time.
To
And
answer my own question, I guess I
yeah,
think, yeah, I think if we did trade all nine stars to the Dodgers, they would be more successful than this. Um, Maybe not perfect, but like you were saying, the players do have some accountability in this as well. I'm not one that's like just fire all the coaching and it's all their fault. It's
well,
not all
you
their fault, but
you
at the
can't do
same time,
anything with the players right
yeah,
now.
you have to make a move that shows that there's accountability here.
No.
You can't just allow this to happen and nothing changes. You cannot have the worst team in baseball, a historically bad team, come to your house and take two or three from you. It's unacceptable. This should not happen. So show you care. Like it sucks. I'm sorry, Turner Ward. I'm sorry, Ollie, that we might be ruining your livelihood because the players can't pick it up. But something needs to happen. They
Yeah,
need to
and
fire
nobody's going
someone.
to
They need
trade
to
for
change
anybody
something.
really right now unless you get some like crazy package, which nobody seems to
Which I
want to
guess
offer for
if
our
you're
guys.
if you're the Padres and
Yeah,
I don't know. But yeah, this is unacceptable. I mean, that's just the bottom line. You can't lose two or three of the White Sox. It cannot happen.
no, not at all. But I mean, they're not doing anything about it, is the problem.
Yep,
And
and
here we
that's
go
very
into
frustrating.
another series now. I mean, we were fortunate to win the series against the Mets last time, but what happens if
Even if we win this series, though, like it still doesn't change. Like I think they're trying to play us like dumb, like hoping
well,
we beat the Mets and then we could just forget the White Sox series happened.
a lot can happen in a week if we take a sweep of the Mets. And if we beat the Mets and sweep them this week, I mean, there's always a chance that we can be 3-2 games back at the end of this weekend. And I mean, maybe that's what they're hoping for, but again, it could go the opposite way. We could get swept by the Mets, and now we can suddenly be 8 back and, essentially pretty much out of it for the majority of the season. So it's just too risky of a move.
Here's the problem with
I've
that
been
though.
saying it
Like
again. I've been saying it for years. I want to see Stubby Clap and what that man can do with these guys. I like his old school style mentality. I like how he's willing to bark at his player and show emotions. I like how he's willing to throw Pete Alonso to the ground if need be. And
but if
I
we
mean,
would have signed him in the offseason,
he's been the guy I've wanted for a long time. After Matheny was gone, I wanted him before Schilt. I wanted him before Ollie after Schilt was gone. I don't know why he keeps getting passed up. We're lucky that he hasn't left elsewhere, thankfully. I've been saying that he's gonna get poached like Skip was, and thankfully it just hasn't happened. I think it's because he hasn't been in the minors kicking ass like he was for us all those years. He's been dealing
Yeah.
with the minor leagues. So I mean with the majors now, so like the shitty performance is kind of attached with his name too, even though he's just a, you know, bench coach, so to speak. But I mean, I feel like he would bring a very different approach. He's a guy that likes more of that old school Whitey ball style where he's constantly moving his runners around. He's trying to put the ball in play. So again, that's why it's weird. There's a guy like that on the bench. I know he's in Ollie's ear. What is going on with this team? But I mean, that's what I would like to see. And again, you hate for somebody to lose their opportunity. Maybe Ollie will find a chance somewhere else
I
as
mean,
a bench
Matheny
coach
did.
and be able to work his way up again, kind of like what Schilt was able to do. But again, it's just not working. Whatever they're doing is not working. The changes they're trying to make are not working. In fact,
What
it seems like
changes?
it's making it worse at times.
Changes.
I mean, I've seen some attempted changes in their approach. For a long time this season, they were sitting on first pitch no matter what. In the last couple of weeks, I saw them trying to attack more first pitch. But again, it's not working because they're late. They are
Yeah.
still late. So it doesn't matter if you're swinging at the first pitch if you're late at it because
Well,
you're
yeah, we
still
can't
down
pull
a
anything. Like I
strike.
said, we're like the worst pull hitters ever. So,
But
or
we, but we're
at least in
not. And
2015,
like,
2015 is when the Statcast goes back to. But to counter, and I hate to counter Stubby because I actually very much am a fan of Stubby as well. I wanted him hired prior to Ollie also. But I think this team needs some outside voices from outside the org.
but
I
I'm talking
personally,
mid-season. I'm talking mid-season. You can't go hire somebody from
oh yeah,
outside the
yeah, mid
organization.
season you can't. Yeah, that I mean, who's available?
I am not advocating for Stubby to get a long-term contract right now. I am advocating for Stubby to be the person who takes over mid-season and actually gets a fucking ass whooping to some of these players and is like, you don't fucking shape up, we're shipping you out type of deal. Because he's that, again, he's the
Yeah,
guy
he kind
willing
of
to throw
reminds
Pete
you
Alonso to the
of the
ground, a
Blues a
guy
little
that's
bit
like
with Craig Berube, right? Like
almost
that's
several feet taller than him, and he's just willing
yeah,
to go up against him. So, and come on, he's
that
got a
makes more
baseball
sense.
name, Stubby
Yeah,
Clap. Come on.
yeah,
How could you not get a Cardinals t-shirt that says clap on the back?
you've been clapped.
Get the
Uh,
clap from Stubby.
that makes more sense. Yeah, that makes more sense then. With that extra bit of clarity there.
Yeah,
Um,
context very
yeah,
important there. Not
yeah.
not
Like next
advocating for
season,
him
going
to
into
go long
next
term.
season though, like and I'm not a fire mo person per se, but like, man, like you can't hire three different managers and fire the same three managers you personally picked out and suffer no consequences also. And like I said, he's made some good moves, like, but at the same time, he's made some shitty ones. Like extending Miles was pretty stupid. Extending DeYoung when he extended DeYoung was not the best idea.
Yeah.
I, he it's about money wasted too. Like we talk about, well, DeWitt should spend more. The payroll's not like we're like around 10th in the league, which isn't that bad. It's the dead money, it's the bad money that's killing us right now. And I I don't know. And like that's part of like the outside voices. Maybe we need some outside voices in upper management also. Something needs to change. I mean, this is not acceptable for Cards Nation. Like it's just simply not. And I to make a comparison to the Blues again, because you were talking about Stubby Clappett. I said, oh yeah, kind of like Berube, we come in, just kick some ass, take some names. The Blues are struggling really bad right now, but
Hmm.
they have a plan in place. So like as fans, we understand that. Like we're gonna be bad. We're gonna get some high picks and we're gonna turn things around in a couple of years. We have a plan. With the Cardinals, you don't see that. There's no plan. We're just kind of hoping something gets figured out or people start clicking and we'll turn it around. But other than like hopes and thoughts and prayers, we don't really have a plan. So it's just I think that's even more frustrating. Like we were promised a winning team, and this is what you gave us. So it's
Yeah.
not the state of the cards is just not great right now. Like,
It's crazy because we really did address the pitching issue that we all thought was going to be the problem this year. I mean, even with a partial regression in the offense, I was expecting, hey, if we put up 3 runs a game, that's going to be good enough to win us a lot of games this year. We can't even put up 3 runs right now. Like
Yeah, I think
I
season
was
average is
not,
about right at
didn't we
3.
average, I think like 5 runs last year or something like
Close to
that?
it, yeah.
And, you know, we can't even muster 3 runs on average this year. Like there's something really wrong with that. And it's
Yeah, and
pretty
like I
much the
mentioned a
same
couple times, we
team
still
from
haven't
last
beat a
year.
team by more than 4 runs. We've lost like 8 or 9 games where the pitching staff has allowed less than 4 runs. I mean, I think we said about everything we could say about how bad the offense has been. It's sad. You don't like I know a lot of people are probably going to watch this though because there's a lot of Cards fans out there who like to kind of hate watch, you know. But this isn't fun. I know I'm laughing, but it's just like almost like a depressed kind of how could it get this bad? But it is. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, it's nuts. I'm at a loss for words for all of it.
That being said, do you have any last thoughts before the Met series? I know this is kind of a downer episode, so
No, I mean we've covered pretty much everything. There's not much going right now for this
up,
team.
if it were up to you right now to make the decisions, what decisions would you make for the Cardinals 2024?
I mean, I'd be moving on from Ollie right now. Like you have to show people that there are consequences, and if it continues, then heads are gonna roll for players. Players are gonna be traded. Nobody should be safe, but it's too early to trade, guys. So really the only message that you can send is with a firing. Mo's probably safe because he's made DeWitt so much money and he's set to retire after next year. So I don't see him being given the boot as a courtesy by DeWitt, which kind of stinks because it has allowed him to become a bit more complacent with all this sort of stuff. But I mean, yeah, uh, I would have Stubby take over right now. And again, if the team continues to do bad, that's when you gotta sell off assets and whatnot.
Here's the problem though, is like who has any value right now? I mean,
They'll still
unless
have value, but it's going to be buy low value.
yeah,
Gonna
unless
have
you
to,
want to do something crazy like like trade Contreras or trade Sonny Gray, God forbid. But like if we actually do go into rebuild,
you
that's the
can't
kind of move you have to make.
you can't trade Sonny or Wilson because they're 2 players that wanted to be here. And if you do that, it sends the wrong message to any other player that wants to be here.
Yeah,
The reason why you can get away with it with Goldie or Nato is they've been here for a long time and they've been given a lot of opportunities and whatnot.
that's a fair
You can
point.
get away
Also,
with a bit more of like, hey, we gave you your shot. Sorry it didn't work out. Let's get you somewhere else so you can try. Versus this is only Contreras' second year and Sonny's first year. If you move him, good luck getting anybody else that wants to come to play in St. Louis that isn't washed up, you know,
that's a fair
because
point. And those two names are the two names I brought up though only because of their performance this year. Because the
no,
two
I
guys
know, and that's the
have
problem.
been
They're the
performing.
guys that have the 2 most value, but those are 2 guys that you can't move from that business standpoint because it would send the wrong message to everybody else. You know, hey, we're gonna move the only guys that are doing well for us right now and the 2 guys that really wanted to be here and came here for that, you
No,
know.
that's a fair point. Also, like I said, it's just based on performance. You know, like you'd be selling low in Goldie, you'd
Well,
be selling low in Arenado. I mean, if we were to go down that route, which we don't know, I mean, that's the thing I was just saying. Like, it doesn't seem like we have a plan, so just kind of winging it right now. I believe this team could be rebuilt with a retool. Hey, buddy, couple shrewd moves in the offseason. I think we could be contenders again. And I would like to answer my own question. I would fire the whole staff. I even as good as Dusty Blake has been, he's just have to be a casualty of what's going on currently with the Cardinals. But yeah, like Dusty Blake seems to be the only one that's like held up his end of the bargain with the team right now. It's for Ryland. Go show mom here, okay, buddy. Game back. Uh, so yeah, I mean, as you're saying, Turner Ward, Ali, I think they both have to go. I mean, it sends the right message to the players too that there's consequences for this poor performance. Like they have gotten complacent. If you just allow this to keep happening with no repercussions whatsoever, what kind of message does that send?
Yeah. It's sending the wrong message that it hasn't been done already. Because here we are going into the Mets game and we haven't changed anything after a terrible
No, we
loss.
did send
Even
down
Berube
Gio,
got fired and he won a championship. What
and
is all that?
they already knew that the team wasn't going to be good either. So
Yeah,
like,
that too. They knew the team wasn't going to be good. We've been told that this team was going to be a contender for the Central. Maybe not a World Series contender, because obviously nobody would believe that. But when we were told that this was a team that was going to compete for the Central, I thought it could. But if you can't solve the hitting issue, no, there's no chance we're going to compete for anything, not even a wild card spot.
nope. And this is with expanded wild card too. And I think that messaging is part of the problem, part of the frustration with fans too. It's because years prior, it used to be compete for World Series. Now it's compete for Central is the messaging from the team. And I think that's frustrating even going into this. Even if we were competing for the Central, like how good would you feel about going up against a team like the Braves or the Dodgers? Probably not great, right?
No, terrible. Absolutely
Yeah.
terrible.
Even if you were competing right now for the Central, you'd still feel terrible about that. And I think that's part of the problem too. Is there needs to be an overhaul with the messaging, with the staff, with the view of Cardinals as a whole. Because it has deteriorated over the last few years. It's sad to say. Like outside 2021, or I mean, I guess, yeah, 2022 where we lost. Yeah, it was 2022 where we got swept by the Phillies. It's been not great. Like 2019, we had historically bad offense in the NLCS. The offense has been an issue kind of for a while now. It's just kind of been, we had the one outlier year with Albert and the two MVP candidates. But like when we brought in Ozuna, we were like, oh, that's not enough. And then we brought in Goldie and we're like, oh, that's not enough. And then we brought in Arenado and then Ozuna left. And like, they had a decent year. And then the next year, they were really, really good. And now we're kind of back to where the offense is like the problem again. So it's been a thing for a while now.
Yeah.
Um, Hopefully that gets fixed. I mean, you and I can both agree we don't like doing this, talking negatively about the Cardinals, wanting to fire people. But I think we both, as fans, want the best for the team, and I think that comes with consequences for the pitching, for the staff as a whole, and maybe parts of the front office. We'll see though. Nothing's changed yet, so show me you're serious about winning baseball games, and things will change.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Anyways, that'll wrap it up for this episode of Birds on a Blue Note. Thanks again for joining us today, you guys. Obviously a lot of gloom and doom stuff. Maybe the team will turn it around. Maybe they won't. Don't hold your breath either way. And we will see you next time after this Met series. Have a good one, everybody, and take care.